I got a weird lighting effect going on up here. I need to change the light bulbs, but whatever. Anyway, back to what we're doing right now. My name is Viger, and this is going to be a continuation of the last video that I've done on Game Theory's FNAF breakdown. This is basically the part 2 that he was talking about, so consider this the part 2 of this video. So then, without further ado, I won't bore you anymore. We're going to get right into this with the second part of this whole ordeal. This whole thing that we're trying to get done with, and I just want to get done with this whole thing entirely. So we're going to be reacting to Game Theory's newest upload as of about a week ago. Game Theory, FNAF, 4 games, 1 story, and FNAF Theory Talkback, which I'm not going to be doing the talkback part, because I've only spliced together the actual Game Theory episodes, so we're not going to be doing any of that. It's 2 hours long. Are you kidding me? I don't even have the patience for that. So then, either way, 3, 2, 1, go. I just hope I splice this together right.
Nope, you're not dreaming. It is possible to put together the pieces of FNAF. It's just a nightmare trying to do it.
Mm-hmm. The camera just makes this whole, light thing look weird. Oh well. It's just my ceiling fan. I've got 2 lights out on it. So whatever.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where it's another day, another FNAF timeline. Don't worry though, I promise this will be my final stab at putting it all together, at least until FNAF World. Maybe that means I can finally do Undertale. You guys want that one, right? Seems like a popular choice. Let me know in the comments. Now let me start this episode by making it very clear. I think the Dream Theory is indeed what Scott intended, where the minigames featuring the crying child from FNAF 4 are real, i.e. there's really a birthday party and he really gets bitten, and the events of each night at Freddy's across the 4 games, where a security guard is attacked by robots, is taking place in his mind. Like I said last episode, the clock sounds, coupled with Scott's own statements both during the live stream and on Steam, sold me 100% on that theory. That said, I, like a lot of you, aren't 100% satisfied with that explanation. Sure, the core gameplay sequences with you as the security guard might all be in the mind of a child, but the underlying story here about a serial killer stalking the halls of the restaurant are just too detailed and too well fleshed out to just be a wash.
Yeah.
Here, to me, are the big issues that the Dream Theory doesn't address. 1. The crying child is afraid of those yellow suits for a reason. Remember what you saw. You know what will happen if he catches you.
And
these are lines that his imaginary friend Fredbear repeats over and over. It feels a lot more sinister and real than just, oh, this kid saw something scary and misunderstood it in the shadows. 2. The puppet doesn't have a good explanation under Dream Theory. Clearly, the puppet is one of the most important forces in this game, but he doesn't fit into the dream model cleanly. A lot of other theorists have said it's symbolic of the boy's actions in his own dreams, but later this episode I'll prove that that's not true. If anything, the boy would be the security guard in these dreams, helpless and scared, not the puppet. I'm not buying it. 3. Scott
I don't buy it
confirmed
either.
the bulk of my FNAF 2 theory. This would be a strange move for him to go out of his way to say that a chain of events was correct if it was truly meaningless. And finally, number 4, the Atari minigames. Under Dream Theory, what? They're just dreams within dreams? What is this, 5 Nights at Inception? And then there are plenty of little issues too, like a young child's dreams being so detailed as to include concepts that even most adults don't know, like sister locations and accurate minimum wage rates. So I combed over everything from the past year.
That just doesn't make sense. A child would not come up with that stuff.
Interesting, but also logical timeline of events, telling the story of the rise and fall of Freddy Fazbear's. Admittedly, there are still gaps and logical leaps, which I'll be sure to call out. But right or wrong, this is the flow of events I believe creates the most satisfying narrative to the series. So this one is dedicated to all you guys on Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, and in the comments who have been sending me theories for months. Think of this as my end of the year present for you. Right or wrong, this box is getting opened. The story begins
Right.
at Fredbear Family Diner, the first location as revealed to us by Phone Guy in FNAF 2, and confirmed indirectly by Scott when he approved my FNAF 2 theory. I don't honestly think that there's much to debate here anymore. A child is murdered outside the establishment by a mysterious figure, the Purple Guy, who escapes unnoticed. The victim's restless soul goes on to inhabit a puppet, which would then haunt the halls of the pizzeria. Boom! Done. No need to dwell on that. In the wake of the tragedy, the owners sell the name of Fredbear and the character's likeness to a larger company that will soon be known as Fazbear Entertainment. From there, the timeline picks up in 1983, as seen on the Crying Child's television set. Since buying the franchise, Fazbear Entertainment has distanced themselves from the last restaurant by redesigning Fredbear into a golden singer with a yellow rabbit partner. They've also rolled out a popular TV series, Fredbear and Friends, as well as a line of merchandise that includes both plastic toys and plushies of all the characters. But perhaps the biggest addition has been a sister location of restaurants where Fredbear's friends are headlining. Freddy, Foxy, Chica, and Bonnie, known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And that is our first major revelation, that FNAF 4's Fredbear-themed restaurant and FNAF 1's Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location are open at the same time. We know this thanks to the Phone Guy tapes uncovered in FNAF 3. For those of you who haven't listened to those enough times to have them memorized, I am so jealous of your life. But secondly, let me refresh your memories. The tapes welcome you to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and then mention a tragic incident at a sister location which results in the yellow Springlock suits being decommissioned. So let me translate that for
That's
you. For all of us
Fredbear.
unfamiliar with corporate buzzwords, a sister location is defined as another company owned by the same parent company. For example, KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell are all sister companies, with the parent company that holds them all together being Yum Brands. Yum is right. Ugh, I could totally go for some Pizza Hut right now.
Yeah.
Pizza Hut Lunch Buffet, you are the best. Hashtag not
Yes.
sponsored. In this case, FNAF 4's Fredbear's is the sister location to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, with the parent company being Fazbear Entertainment. Corporate structure for the win. What all of this means is that the unfortunate incident that Phone Guy mentions in the FNAF 3 tapes is the crying child getting chomped, which in turn is the inciting event that causes the two recently delivered yellow suits to the FNAF 1 location, the Golden Freddy and Golden Bonnie suit Phone Guy talks about, to be stored away in the location's safe room. At this point in the timeline, still open and hidden in the back of the restaurant.
Right.
Enter Purple Guy. Shortly after the yellow suits get decommissioned, more FNAF 3 tapes reveal Phone Guy warning employees to not bring customers back to the safe room and to stop moving the yellow Bonnie suits. In the following days, the safe room gets sealed with the request to, quote, not tell family, friends, or insurance representatives. Now, Phone Guy may be unaware of what's happening here, but we're not. This is June 26th, 1983, the date of the missing children incident we learn about through the newspaper clippings pasted on the walls of FNAF 1, where, in the middle of the day, an employee dresses in a costume, lures 5 children to the back, kills them, and then stuffs their bodies into the suits. Although he's caught and taken into custody, the fact that all of this takes place in the restaurant's safe room, which remember are invisible to animatronics and security cameras, means that the actual murders aren't on camera. As such, the bodies of the children remain missing, hidden in the suits, and the killer can't be charged due to a lack of evidence. This is all represented in the game by the Foxy Go 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 minigame, where the layout of the game parallels the layout of the FNAF 1 location. Pirate Cove, to the right, a dining area. And as we see in the Give Gifts, Give Life minigame from FNAF 2, the puppet saves the kids by giving them life inside the animatronic suits. So now at this point in the timeline, we have Freddy, Foxy, Chica, Bonnie, Golden Freddy, and the puppet alive and well. Well, not alive,
Sort of.
dead, and then reborn. You get the idea. Also, the company closes up the safe rooms to avoid all liability for the murders, and eventually the pizzeria is closed and the old animatronics retired due to the health conditions of the restaurant. As we see once again in the newspaper clippings from FNAF 1, the smell of rotting bodies inside the machines starts stinking up the place. So now let's pause there for a second. Up to now, everything has been pretty well substantiated with evidence, but before we get too much further, let's take a minute back with the crying child. Remember, one of my biggest concerns about Dream Theory is that the crying child is scared of the yellow suits, but there's no real good explanation as to why. So what if the reason the crying child is scared of the yellow suits is because he saw the missing children's incident?
That's what
if
I
he
was
saw
saying.
the employee
He
dressed up
saw
as a yellow
the whole
animatronic
thing go
luring
down.
the children away? Yes, this would mean that the missing children's incident would happen before the yellow suits are retired and before the kid gets bitten, but it's a theory that works for a lot of different reasons. First, he's always at the pizzerias, especially towards the end of the day, so he'd definitely be be in a position to see something like this. Second, it explains his irrational fear of the yellow suits because he saw people get taken to the back and never return. Third, the lines of "remember what you saw" and "you know what will happen if he catches you" that psychic friend Fredbear keeps repeating makes a whole lot more sense now. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, look at this line. "These are my friends." If this were indeed true, this line takes on a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
I always thought that line was weird. Like, what, they're your imaginary friends? I suppose, but then why would his collection of plushies just be with him when he dies? Why is that such an important detail that Scott chose to include? It wouldn't be, really, but what if they were literally his friends? That he knew the kids who went missing and got stuffed, and the plushies being there in the final scene represented not his plushies, but the spirit of his friends, the ones possessing the suits, being there with him as he dies. Now that gives you a reason to be scared of this restaurant,
Yeah.
but we can take it one step further. There's one more issue with the crying child we've yet to cover. What happens to him when he dies at the end of FNAF 4? My original theory put him in the puppet because of design details, but in retrospect, that was wrong. Reddit user 3IEYIJ, 3IEJ,
Yayo.
Reddit user 3IEJ did an analysis of the color of the text during the ending sequence. All of the final lines aren't in the yellow used for psychic friend Fredbear, but rather a mysterious new off-white color for the final lines of "You're broken, I will put you back together." It's a subtle detail, but it's very clear that this is an intentional difference that Scott included in the game.
Something's coming.
Speaking? Well, who else but the one figure we know gives life to children dying in events around the Fazbear Entertainment franchise? It's the puppet, promising to right the wrongs of the pizzeria by bringing peace to the crying child's spirit. How does he plan to do this? Well, look at what he says. "We are still your friends." It's not "I am still your friend." The puppet using the plural here means that there would be multiple spirits present in this final scene that consider themselves friends to the crying child, but we also see this: "I am still here. The others are gone now, stuffed, leaving only the one with the ability to transcend the animatronic suits, the puppet." This makes a lot of sense if we again assume the crying child knew the kids who got stuffed during the missing children's incident. And look at the last line the puppet says: "I will put you back together." We've all been assuming his "you" is referring to the crying child, but consider for a minute that the puppet is instead playing the pronoun game, to steal a phrase from CinemaSins, and is instead referring to the plural "you." "You 5 are broken, and I will put you 5 back together." He's planning on reuniting the spirits of these 5 friends. What makes me so sure? Well, we see it happen. It's the conclusion to the whole story. In FNAF 3's The Happiest Day minigame, we see the crying child's birthday one more time. 5 kids in masks representing the same 5 animatronics, with the birthday boy representing Golden Fredbear. You can even compare the locations. Both are long corridors with 3 tables and a 4th one slightly off to the side. The balloons are also the same colors: red,
The subtleties.
green, purple, yellow, and blue. Even the exit is where the Fredbear stage is, an exit that, if used, results in the bad ending because the souls don't get peace. It's where the child was chomped. And who's the one we see in this minigame putting everyone back together again? The puppet, just like he promised the boy he would do on his deathbed. And here's the best part. How do you get to this minigame? Well, by playing through a bunch of others, including the Stage 01 game, which you access by typing the numbers 395248 into the wall. Why are those numbers important? It's the hexadecimal code for the color of purple guy, only it's backwards. It's Scott's way of showing that the puppet is actively trying to reverse the work of the purple guy and the atrocities committed inside the walls of Fazbear.
This cannot be a dream.
From here, the rest of the story is surprisingly straightforward. The pizza chain reopens during the summer of 1987 in FNAF 2's bigger location. Fazbear Entertainment rolls out the toy animatronics based on the character models of their merchandise, allows them to free roam, and even equips them with facial recognition software as added protection against child murderers. I mean, there's definitely a pattern being established here, so good on them for taking preventative measures. However, as we all know, it's not enough. As we hear about from the phone guy and see in the Save Them minigame, the purple guy, now the daytime security guard, kills 5 more kids within the walls of this restaurant. When the puppet enlists the help of the possessed Freddy animatronic to save the kids, the purple guy responds, "You can't," because it's true. they're already dead. That said, a case can be made that the puppet successfully gets these 5 souls into animatronics too. Notice that before this, 6 characters were possessed, but now there are 5 new animatronics in this location. Toy Bonnie, Toy Freddy, Toy Chica, Mangle, and Balloon Boy. 5 spirits for 5 robots? Quite the coincidence, don't you think? Additionally, we hear from Phone Guy that around this time, the toy animatronics inexplicably become more aggressive towards adults, but stay friendly towards kids. The only explanation here is that the 5 new child spirits are given life in the new toy suits by the puppets, but these spirits are angry. The pizzeria is gonna close, but not before one final birthday party, where angry and eager for revenge against their killer, these newly created, possessed toy animatronics lash out at their murderer, the Purple Guy, who they know as the daytime security guard. Except, bad news, Purple Guy is long gone. He did his business and got out. In his place is Jeremy, night security guard moved to the day shift, wrongfully attacked by a vengeful toy animatronic the day of the birthday, losing his frontal lobe and coining the now iconic Bite of 87 moniker in the process. This causes the location to be shut down and the toys to be scrapped. Animatronics from here on out are no longer allowed to walk around. With Jeremy out of commission, Phone Guy volunteers to take over the position of Night Guard. Which brings us to our conclusion. The story comes to a final head in 1993. We know it's that year because of the minimum wage rate at the time, as well as the 11/12 date on the check. It doesn't matter if you're working night or day shift, all workers get paid on Fridays, and November 12th, 1993 landed on a Friday. It just fits. So Fazbear Entertainment tries to reopen the FNAF 1 location with the original animatronics and Phone Guy as security night guard. With the restaurant reopened one final time, we see this scene, where the puppet is waking up the spirits inside the animatronics one final time. It's time to get their revenge on Purple Guy at last. Phone Guy gets killed, and as we see in the final news article on the wall, no one comes to the restaurant because of its dark, tragic history, with the franchise closing at the end of the year. Sometime after, Purple Guy returns to the building, dismantles the suits, but in doing so, unwittingly unleashes the spirits of the dead children, who attack and kill him, and if they're reunited by the puppet in Happiest Day, finally receive their peace. Well, that is until Fazbear Fright opens and unearths Springtrap, but with all the other animatronics at peace, the puppet must get his hands dirty one final time, returning to burn down the building and finish Purple Guy off for good. Or not. Like any good horror story ends. So what about the Phantom animatronics, Shadow Freddy, and all that? Stay tuned, we're going to talk about those during the live stream immediately after this episode. The video's getting really long at this point, so I want to kind of close it out here. But as we close out here, I have to ask you this. Was that answer satisfying? You see, that's the beauty of the dream theory and the frustration of anything else. There's so much lore, so many puzzle pieces to fit together that in order to account for everything, the story can't get much simpler than that. Dream theory in this instance is so satisfying here because it explains all the messiness of the lore in broad, easy to understand strokes without you needing a PhD in FNAFology to understand what's going on. Sure, it is possible to fit the details together cleanly, but it's not an easy to follow story. It's almost like you need a full-length book to truly put all the pieces together. Okay, I get it. Scrap everything I just said. Scott's got a book. Another FNAF video made moot by a Scott Cawthon announcement. Or not. This is actually a last-minute update. I'm recording this literally hours before the video and live stream tomorrow, but it was just too important to leave out, because it looks like Scott agrees with my conclusion. For once, the story is indeed just too crowded to be satisfying. When talking about the new novel, which, true to form, released early, he said the following, quote, "The truth is that after a while, lore becomes so dense that there isn't room for a story anymore. Sometimes the timeline gets so full that the only way to tell a real story is to have the story set in a different timeline," end quote. So there you have it. Dream theory for your simple answer, and a 20-minute long timeline for those of you who want something a bit more complete. So which do you find more satisfying? Well, let's talk about all of that live right now.
Technically, no. Because the rest is about 2 hours of live streaming that happens. So I did splice it right. That's a good for me, but oh my gosh, this has just been a nightmare all of its own. Just trying to figure this thing out. It's like, it can't honestly be just a dream. This is too sophisticated for, like, I would judge 8-year-old, maybe. This is too sophisticated for a child to drum up. They know nothing about minimum wage or what day of Friday was back in 1993 or whatever. And they don't understand the functionalities of having part of your head ripped off, or even the murders themselves. This is all just too sophisticated to be a dream. That's what I think. I almost have to say I refuse to accept the dream theory as the actual explanation. I just call it, it's like, well, what about the business practices for the FNAF restaurants and everything? It's like, well, that's just sleazy company practice or whatever. You see it happen all the time. But I guess that is it. Until we get more information out of the book and then the movie, and then whatever else will come out after that, because FNAF is pretty much, at this point, it's not going away anytime soon. So then, with that being said, that's it for this video. Follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch, and that's it. So then, I will see you guys in the next video, and as always, toodles.
Room. An insignificant detail? I don't think so. The Chica-Beak shows that this girl's toys fall apart, just like Mangle, the tear-apart, put-back-together toy. And toys explain FNAF 1, too. The crying child of FNAF 4 has 4 plushies in his room.